An artificial man who was incompletely constructed and has scissors for hands leads a solitary life. Then one day, a suburban lady meets him and introduces him into her world. Edward Scissorhands is up next on Inside Movies. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Inside Movies. My name is George McHale. I'm a comic book maker, and I am joined by writer-illustrator GMB CHOMICHUK. Well, don't do it, man. Novelist Andrew Buckley, and the editor-in-chief of Merc. What's going on? Murphy. This month we're doing Johnny Depp movies, so tune in every week and we'll have a new episode featuring a Johnny Depp movie. Next week we're doing Secret Window, the Stephen King adaptation. Let's get into it. What's the good? What do we like about Edward Scissorhands?
I love this movie. I was a little emo kid who fell in love with Johnny Depp so much. This was probably the second film of his I ever saw, and the way that he is able to take what looks like such a creepy, his like scissor hands, something that could be very scary, and to just have such an innocent character. I mean, he did such a great job, and I just love. There's so much acting in his eyes in this film, and I absolutely love it.
I am an enormous fan of, the old silent movies, and then like the early talkies, but all those black and white old horror movies, Bride of Frankenstein in particular. This has all those feelings. It's like a modern retelling of all those Frankenstein and evil scientist stories from the perspective of the monster, and that's what brought me to it. I probably, when this came out, I might have been dating some of those emo girls, but otherwise I wasn't a big Johnny Depp fan. But when I saw this movie, the way that it feels like a super expensive, elaborate, weird play as opposed to a movie, I fell in love with the aesthetic. And so Tim Burton really, wormed his way into my rotten apple heart right about then.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Tim Burton's direction and his cinematography and just style, like it feels like you're in like a different world, both in the suburban neighborhood where everything is brightly colored and kind of pastels, and the housewives are really like the true evil of this movie, and then and then in the monster world with the house on the hill and stuff, it's so beautiful to look at.
Oh, I'm the odd one out in this episode. Excellent. Yeah, I've seen this movie twice. And the first time I watched it, I really disliked it, about 20, 30 years ago. And it did not get better with my repeat viewing. I can appreciate it for what it is, because I like Tim Burton, and I liked his unique style. This looks uniquely and classically Tim Burton-esque, with, like you say, the juxtaposition between the suburban area and then the house on the hill. That's great, but at the same time, like, I'm currently watching Wednesday on Netflix, and it's kind of cool to see that his style has evolved and changed a little bit. Because rewatching this, I'm like, man, the stark contrast is almost too stark for the contrast, I guess. Like, it's too in your face, giving the audience enough credit. Like, you have to actually put it all out there on Front Street. Anyway, that's getting into bad.
Good.
So, yeah. That's it.
Your comment on the good.
I really went backwards. Yeah, it was bad. I apologize. Danny Elfman's score of this movie is one of Danny Elfman's best. It is very atmospheric, and it plays very well into the story. There you go.
I love the ridiculousness of the way that he cuts hair and cuts hedges, and like how it's impossible. And I love the way that it all flies. I just love the way that they did that. Like, they didn't try to make it like believable, but they did it in a way that it worked. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say.
Murphy, I totally agree. But what I want to know is, how did they do that safely? Like, I'd like to see the prop elements. I haven't looked into it. Now I'm curious too on how they made the scissor hands safe props to be around people, because they look so dangerous the entire time, and they're doing some pretty close-up work with actors with that stuff. You know, accidents happen. That's some sharp stuff all in people's faces. I don't know how they pulled that off. Well, that's the good. The practical effects of this movie are just honestly really great. And if I may say so, even the parts that you know are sets, it doesn't bother me in a Tim Burton movie when I can say, oh, that's just a weirdly painted set, because the whole movie feels more like a play than a movie. And I kind of like that about the aesthetic, despite Andrew not loving it, actually.
I see what you did.
If you do like Tim Burton movies, go back and watch our previous reviews for Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. And I do enjoy this movie. I like the kind of fairy tale aspect of it. It does feel like a modern kind of fairy tale, or like a modern kind of new take on the misunderstood monster. And it's fun. And there's a good bit of comedy in it. Not any belly laughs, but I found it very well paced. I was never bored. I enjoyed it. Another thing I really liked though was Alan Arkin. That guy is just like a comedy genius, and just the way he delivers his lines, it just makes me smile, like everything he says.
On the note of it feeling like a fairy tale, I think they did a really good job with Winona Ryder's character. You know, she looks like a princess when she's out there dancing in the snow from him cutting the ice. That is one of my favorite scenes in a movie. Like, it just makes me feel happy. And I really love that they took this character, they put her into this land where all of the women, all the adult women, are just like bickering or gossiping, and they set her up to be like caring, and that she's like trying to be better than what is expected of the people in this town. And I just it's got the whole Beauty and the Beast thing, and I think that it's sweet that at the end he doesn't turn into a real boy. He's still Edward Scissorhands, and she loves him for as he is and doesn't need him to change, and she knows he's not a monster. And it's just a sweet movie that I love so much.
Yeah, I'll say that I like the poetic callback of the snow scene. And in particular, what I like about this movie is that there isn't the classic trope of, well, when you fall in love, the monster will be returned to the kind of person that you hoped they were at the beginning, right? Like, it undoes so many of those fairy tales. Are like, oh, and now he's a handsome prince. In this, he remains the monster, and it's his, the character's inside, if I can get sentimental about it, that is good. And so that's what she falls in love with, and that's kind of sweet as a fairy tale.
He is, though, kind of bad, because he does kill that one guy. Like, I know that guy was being a jerk and he had a gun and stuff like that, but he kills him and he's like stabs his like knives into his stomach, and then he pushes him out the window. And someone else that kills is Deathrage. Murphy, can you tell us about your newest Kickstarter?
Speaking of characters that I love, Deathrage, issue number 6 is going to be in stores. This is the final issue of the origin story of Deathrage. I'm so excited. Myself and Aaron Sparrow, co-writers in the series, are so excited to wrap it up, and it's going to be epic. It's going to be violent. It's going to be so incredible. I cannot wait to hear what people's thoughts on it. So go to your local comic shop, January 17th, Deathrage number 6, the final issue, will be in stores.
And I've included a link to Merc Publishing. Go check out the whole Merc universe. Let's get into the bad. What do we not like about Edward Scissorhands? I
should love this. I love fairy tales, and for whatever reason, I have such trouble viewing this through that same kind of prism. Because I mean, it has everything that I should love in it, for fuck's sake. It has such an absolutely frustrating, impractical concept of scissors for hands that irritated me to no end through the entire damn thing. It just bugged me that I'm like, what? But he's got scissors. He can't do anything. He has scissors hands. Although I will admit that the first time I watched this, I was probably pretty young, and so this time around, I was like, oh, he's a robot. It never occurred to me that his foundation was that he was a robot. I never clued in on that. But no one ever says anything about Scissors for Hands. Like, oh, those are sharp. Oh, what can you do
Where they
there?
literally
Explain.
build-
The what?
The scene where they build him didn't clue you in that like he's not a real boy.
Yeah, I don't think I must. I guess I just wasn't paying that much attention when I was younger.
I will say one of the things, probably the only thing that I don't like about this movie is the bully boyfriend. I
Jim.
cannot unsee Jim. I cannot unsee him as he was in The Breakfast Club. And those are so opposite. And I just cannot. It was such weird casting to me. I do not like him in that role.
But if you think about how he didn't really learn his lesson in that one day of detention, and he, learned from those other bad kids how to be bad. That is usually what happens when a good kid ends up with the bad kids.
And he was also so bad that when he died,
Yeah.
no one cared. Like, he fell out the window. The townsfolk all came to the castle thing and were like, oh my god, they killed somebody. It's horrible. All right, guys, you should all go home. And then they all left with the dead kid lying there. And nobody cared, not even the sheriff.
Okay, so in the bad though, like Edward Scissorhands, it doesn't have like a straight up villain for most of it, and it's just kind of almost episodic in that, like, first he's trimming hedges, and then he's like he's grooming dogs, and then he's looking to open a hair salon. It's just like, I don't really care about any of this stuff. Like, it was a little bit meandering in some ways. Like, it's held together by Johnny Depp's performance because he's very captivating, but the story, I think it would have probably worked better as like a 60-minute special, which, a movie typically has to be 90 minutes, or I don't know how long this was exactly, but I think it was maybe the plot was kind of stretched out a bit longer than they really had content for.
I think that's probably a problem that shows up in a lot of Tim Burton thematics, like suburbia is the enemy. It's definitely in his filmography.
Yes, and like the hero of the movie is like the weird artist guy. It's like that's kind of a theme in his movies.
Well, it's so self-referential. He even went on record with this movie to say that he grew up in Burbank and this is how he felt, because he always felt like such an outcast artist, social pariah. And you can see that throughout, like, I don't know, so many of his movies. Which makes sense. Back to my impracticality of all this fucking movie. He's trimming all those bushes and they all end up bigger than when he started cutting them. That doesn't make sense, guys. Oh, he's not magic. He's a robot. Don't even. No.
Robot.
Also,
He's spraying Miracle Grow on them as he goes.
Okay, then explain to me where he's getting the absolutely massive 20-foot blocks of ice. Where are those coming from, guys? Where's the ice coming from? They just keep
From
popping
your
up everywhere.
heart. I can't. We're not friends today.
No, not today. Not today.
Yeah, his hands cut through your disbelief is what they do.
No, they didn't.
They cut around your fiendish, suburban attitudes about this film, Andrew.
Okay, let's get into the skinny. Let's give our final grades for Edward Scissorhands.
Andrew.
I'll happily grade it. I give it one stupidly massive random block of ice out of 5. Because it's dumb. I did like it when I saw it 30 years ago, and I don't like it today.
I'll give it 5 beautiful snowstorms out of 5 beautiful snowstorms, but I want you to make sure that the graphic shows that it's Andrew's block of ice that the snowstorms are coming from. Right? His disdain is turned into something beautiful that we cut apart into the snowstorm. Can you do that in a graphic, George?
Oh yeah, no, that'll be great. That'll be a lot of fun to try and make. I'm gonna give it a B. It's kind of like a modern fairy tale meets horror movie, but I just didn't think there was really like enough for the runtime of the movie. So I liked it overall, but and I'd recommend checking it out if you've never seen it before. But at the same time, not like an all-time great for me.
10 out of 10 scissor fingers. Love it. Will always love it. One of my first loves. 10 out of 10.
Nice. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside Movies. Come back next week. We're doing Secret Window as Johnny Depp month continues. I've been George McHale, joined by GMB CHOMICHUK, Andrew Buckley, and Murphy, who loves Johnny Depp so much. And go check out Deathrage. There's a link to Merc Publishing in the description of this video. And that's it. Peace.